Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into something fundamental, mindful self-discipline. It often gets a bad rap, seen as this kind of joyless chore.
Right, like something you have to do, not something that actually helps you.
Exactly. But the sources we've looked at, they paint a really different picture.
Yeah.
They suggest it's more like a blueprint for freedom, really.
It's a critical topic, definitely.
Yeah.
We've synthesized quite a bit of material here, foundations, the psychology behind it, and some core techniques for building real self-mastery.
So our mission today is to sort of unpack that, to pull discipline away from being this drudgery and look at this three-pillar structure that apparently turns good intentions into, consistent action. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, and I think we need to start by really understanding the stakes. Most people think discipline is just about achieving stuff, lose weight, get the promotion, run the race.
External goals, yeah.
External goals. But the research we dug into, it's crystal clear. Self-discipline is absolutely fundamental to happiness.
Okay, right there. That kind of pushes against the common narrative, doesn't it?
It really does. There's this almost pervasive idea, sometimes called the Puritan hypothesis, that successful people must be grim and joyless.
All work, no play.
Exactly. But the actual studies show the opposite. People with high levels of self-control, they are significantly happier. They report higher life satisfaction, more positive emotions day to day, and fewer negative ones.
So, wait, they're happier because of the self-control, not just sort of in spite of it.
That's the absolute key takeaway, and the why is pretty straightforward. Their lives generally run more smoothly. They're not constantly putting out fires they started themselves.
Right, like the missed deadlines, the impulse buys that break the budget, feeling terrible because you stayed up too late scrolling.
All that self-inflicted chaos. Discipline leads to fewer problems that you yourself created. It streamlines life.
And in today's world, this feels even more urgent, doesn't it? It's not just about personal comfort anymore. Our sources really hammered this home survival of the fittest now almost means survival of the self-disciplined.
Absolutely, because the environment is actively working against you. You have brilliant, highly motivated, extremely well-funded forces fighting tooth and nail for every second of your attention, every bit of your focus, every dollar.
It's engineered distraction.
Completely.
Yeah.
Your phone, streaming, social media, it's all optimized to bypass your rational brain and hit those impulsive triggers. Self-mastery, that internal control, it's basically your only reliable shield.
Okay, so that sets the stage pretty dramatically. Let's maybe nail down some terms before we dive into the how. People might hear self-discipline, willpower, habits. Are they all the same thing?
Good question. They're related but distinct. Think of self-discipline as the big umbrella. It's your overall ability to live by your values and goals, pushing through obstacles, internal or external. It includes things like grit, focus, integrity.
Okay, the broad capability.
Right. Then willpower is more specific. It's that mental energy, that muscle you flex in the moment to control your attention, your emotions, your actions when there's friction or temptation.
The immediate effort.
Exactly. And habits. Those are the automated routines you build precisely so you don't have to rely on willpower all the time. They conserve that energy. Oh, and motivation is just that initial spark, the desire. Important, but it flickers. Commitment is what lasts.
Let's focus on willpower for a second, because isn't there a big debate about whether it's like a limited resource, like a battery that just drains?
Ah, yes, the willpower debate. The evidence for decision fatigue is actually pretty compelling. There was that famous study with judges, you remember?
The parole hearings?
That's the one. Favorable rulings started around 65% after a break, but steadily dropped, sometimes near zero, right before the next break or lunch.
Wow.
Yeah. The sheer mental effort of making tough, nuanced decisions depleted their capacity for continued effortful thought. Denying parole became the easier, less energy-intensive default.
So making decisions, especially hard ones, literally tires out our self-control, pushing us towards impulsive or default choices just to save energy.
Pretty much. We default to the path of least resistance, and this is a really crucial, but the counter perspective is incredibly important. Your belief about willpower seems to matter enormously.
How so?
People who hold the belief that willpower is strictly limited, like that battery, they actually experience more self-control failures. Their belief becomes a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy.
So does the belief somehow override the very real fatigue the judges experienced?
It's more that willpower also acts like a muscle. Think about lifting weights. Right after you exercise a muscle, it's temporarily weaker, fatigued.
Sure.
But over time, with consistent, deliberate exercise, what happens? It gets stronger, it grows. That's called supercompensation. Willpower seems to work similarly. Using it deliberately, even in small ways, choosing the apple over the cookie, meditating for 5 minutes when you don't feel like it might feel tiring in the moment. But it gradually increases your overall baseline capacity for self-control over the long haul. Weeks, months.
I like that analogy. It's empowering. It means we're not just victims of a draining battery. But okay, if we can strengthen it, why not just design our lives to avoid using it? All the habit hacks, engineering your environment. Can't we just bypass the need for willpower?
That's a tempting idea. And look, optimizing your habits and environment, absolutely essential. You should do that. Make the good choices easy, the bad choices hard. But it's not enough on its own. Relying solely on that is, frankly, a bit fragile. Life will throw curveballs. You'll face unexpected temptations, internal conflicts, times when your perfectly designed environment isn't available. You'll still need that core strength, that willpower, to navigate those moments. One source put it really well: trying to design a life where willpower is completely unnecessary is futile. And maybe worse, that life would probably be pretty stale, devoid of growth. Growth usually involves facing some kind of friction, doesn't it?
That makes sense. You need the challenge to build the strength. Okay, so that leads us perfectly into the core framework. We need willpower, but raw effort is exhausting. How do we make discipline more systematic, more reliable? The three pillars, right?
Exactly. The framework proposes 3 essential components: aspiration, awareness, and action. You really need all 3 working together for self-discipline to stick.
Okay, pillar 1, aspiration. Why aspiration and not just goals? What's the difference?
Think of it like this. Aspiration is the deeper why behind your why. A goal might be, say, lose 40 pounds. That's the vehicle.
The objective.
Right. The aspiration is the purpose driving that. Maybe it's, I want to live without the constant low-level anxiety about my health. Or maybe I want to truly explore my physical and mental potential for the rest of my life. It's the intrinsic meaning connected to the goal.
And the sources really emphasize this distinction between want to goals and have to goals. Can you unpack that?
Absolutely critical distinction. Want to goals come from inside. They align with your genuine values, your passions, your sense of purpose. Have to goals are usually driven by external factors, pressure from others, chasing status, doing what you think you should do.
And the have to ones are less effective.
Much less. Research shows that when you're pursuing have-to goals, you perceive more obstacles, you feel less authentic doing it, and crucially, it drains your willpower much faster. It feels like a constant uphill battle against yourself if the goal isn't deeply aligned with who you actually want to become.
Okay, so find that deep want to, then what? Pillar 2 is awareness. This one seems really interesting, tied into our brain structure, that conflict between the planning part, the neocortex, and the impulsive part, the lizard brain.
Yeah, awareness is really the heart of this whole system. Why? Because it creates the pause, that tiny space between something happening, an external trigger, an internal urge, and your automatic reaction.
Without the pause, the lizard brain just takes over.
Pretty much. You're just running on autopilot, playing out old conditioning. Awareness is what makes a conscious, deliberate, value-aligned choice possible in that moment. It breaks the stimulus response chain.
So practically, how do you cultivate that pause? How do you use awareness?
The core technique described is the PAW method. Pause, awareness, willpower. The awareness part itself involves a few key things: radical self-honesty, neutrality, and acceptance.
Okay, break those down. Radical self-honesty.
It means basically labeling your choices in real time, even just mentally. Is this action I'm about to take a +1 moving me towards my aspiration? Or is it a -1 moving me away?
But doesn't that constant labeling, being that honest with yourself about every little +1 and makest one, risk getting you bogged down? Or worse, lead straight back to beating yourself up, which you said drains willpower.
That's a fantastic question, and it's precisely why neutrality is so crucial. If you label a choice makes of one and immediately think, oh, I'm terrible, I have no discipline, you've just shot yourself in the foot.
Right, the shame spiral.
Exactly. Shame is paralyzing. It eats up emotional energy and makes the next choice even harder. True awareness is non-judgmental. It's simply observing, okay, I just made a -1 choice. Interesting, I accept that happened. You see it, maybe learn from it, but you don't wallow. You just redirect your focus back to the path without the drama.
So notice, accept, redirect. No self-flagellation.
Precisely. And over time, even if it's not perfect, the cumulative effect of making mostly +1 choices, even small ones, day after day, it's huge. It compounds.
Okay, that makes sense. It shifts awareness from being a judge to being more like a neutral observer or a guide.
Okay.
Which leads us nicely to pillar 3, action. We have the why, aspiration, the pause, awareness. Now we need the consistent doing. Motivation phase, we know that. So action needs commitment. What's the key principle here?
The golden rule, according to the sources, is incredibly simple but powerful. Commit to never zero.
Never zero. Explain that.
It means you decide on a minimum threshold for your chosen action, something small, doable even on your worst day, and you commit to hitting that minimum no matter what. Maybe your goal is run 45 minutes a day. The never zero commitment might be, I will put on my running shoes and run for at least 10 minutes, even if it's raining, even if I'm exhausted, even if I just run around the block.
So it's about maintaining the chain, even if it's just by one link.
Exactly. The psychology is important. A 0 day doing absolutely nothing does double damage. First, it breaks the momentum, that streak, making it easier to skip again tomorrow.
Yeah, the, oh, well, I already blew it mindset.
Right. But second, and arguably more damaging, it reinforces an identity of someone who quits when things get tough. By doing the minimum, even just 10 minutes or writing one paragraph, you are actively reinforcing the identity. I am the kind of person who follows through. My commitment holds.
Even if the workout itself feels tiny, the psychological win is massive because you showed up for yourself. You kept the promise.
That's it, precisely. The physical output might be negligible on that minimum day, but the message you're sending to your subconscious is absolute. My commitment is non-negotiable.
Wow. Okay, aspiration, awareness, action. That's a really solid framework. So bringing it all together, what does this mean for you, the listener, when you're right there in the moment? Temptation hits. You're facing that classic mask one choice. What's the go-to technique?
The most powerful immediate tool is to consciously shift your focus. You have to reframe the choice away from the immediate, superficial comparison your lizard brain presents.
Which is
usually something like, the pain effort of doing the hard thing, like working out or focusing, versus the immediate pleasure comfort of the easy thing, like scrolling TV channels or eating the junk food.
Yeah, the easy thing usually wins that frame.
It's rigged. You have to force a different comparison. Reframe it based on your actual long-term values, your aspiration. The choice isn't really pain of workout versus pleasure of TV. It's more like the temporary discomfort of exercise leading to long-term health, energy, and confidence versus the fleeting pleasure of TV leading to long-term regret, low energy, and poor health.
Ah, so you connect the immediate choice to the deeper why.
You have to. When you clearly see the real stakes, the long-term consequences tied to your core values, health, competence, peace of mind, fulfilling your potential, the right choice often becomes much clearer, sometimes almost automatic.
And there's a fascinating psychological reason why that reframing is so hard for us, isn't there? Something about how we view our future selves.
Yes, exactly. This is quite profound. Brain imaging studies actually show that for many people, thinking about their future self activates similar brain regions as thinking about a completely different person, a stranger.
Seriously, so my future self is like, someone else.
Neurologically speaking, for many of us, yes, there's a disconnect. We don't feel the same immediate connection or empathy for that future self as we do for our present self, which makes it psychologically easier to burden that stranger with the consequences of our impulsive choices today. Their pain or peace tomorrow just doesn't feel as real as our comfort right now.
That's kind of disturbing, actually. It means every time I procrastinate or make that mega-to-one choice, I'm essentially offloading the cost onto this other person, future me, because I lack that connection.
It highlights the challenge. A huge part of developing powerful self-discipline is actively forging that connection, that empathy with your future self, making their well-being, their goals, their peace feel just as important and real as your immediate desires.
Building on that exact point, there was this idea in the material that really struck me. It suggested the ultimate prize of mastering self-discipline isn't actually reaching the goal itself, the finish line, the weight number, the completed project.
Yeah.
Those highs are often temporary anyway.
Right, the achievement is often fleeting.
The real reward, the sources argued, is the person you become through that whole process, through consistently applying aspiration, awareness, and action. That more disciplined, more self-aware, more resilient individual, that's the lasting prize.
Beautifully put. The journey transforms the traveler. The process is the transformation.
So for you listening, maybe the invitation is just to pick one small thing from this deep dive. Maybe it's defining a want-to goal. Maybe it's trying that never-zero commitment for one habit. Or just practicing the PAW method, pause, awareness, willpower once today when you feel an urge.
Just start somewhere. That first step begins building the muscle, forging that connection. It really can change everything.
Start building that relationship with your future self today. We'll see you on the next deep dive.